Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, guest speakers, members, students, and dear guest speakers. So once again, welcome to day 2 EuroCham-GreenCap 2021 Youth Conference. I would like to thank everyone again for participating yesterday, and thank you for students who once again showed a very active and great activities yesterday, and welcome to our day 2 of the conference. So yesterday we have covered a lot of contents and topics relating to future green job markets, and we also heard from speakers on their life storytellings. We were inspired by our speakers. So without any further delay, may I please jump quickly to today's agenda items. So we will have a quick introductions from EuroChams and from GreenCap's representative. Afterward, we will have a keynote panel presentation from three guest speakers experts presenting on SDGs in Cambodia. And we will also have a short interactive game sessions. And after the session, we will have in-depth panel discussion with various speakers on the topic on understanding SDG in Cambodia. I would like to also remind our students and guest speakers that you can drop your message or question in our chat box, as well as show your reaction through our emoji platform, and as well as making sure that you have selected the correct device for your speakers and microphone. So without any further delay, I would like to introduce to you our speakers for the introductions. We will have Mr. Denis SAINTE-MARIE. He's the Executive Director of EuroCham Cambodia. And afterward, we will have Mr. Laurent MESMANN, standing as the National Coordinators of GreenCap Cambodia. So Denis, I would like to give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ratanak. Good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to welcome you to this second session of this youth conference, jointly organized by EuroCham and GreenCap. Yesterday, as it was said by Ratanak, we had a very interesting discussion on the green job markets with inspiring presentation made by relevant stakeholders from various backgrounds. Today, we are going to discuss on the Sustainable Development Goals with again a large panel of key speakers from various international and national organizations, including dynamic Cambodia Entrepreneurs Association, but also lecturers from Cambodian and European universities. Thanks to all of them. On sustainability, Europe is taking actions within the framework of the Green Deal, but also other major markets are taking steps into this direction, such as China, which is also fully embarked on this journey. From a business perspective, it is key for Cambodia to be part of this sustainability dynamic by adopting the relevant framework and the adequate tax incentives in order to maintain or to expand the country's attractiveness as a trade and investment destination. On this note, the current crisis has to be considered as an opportunity for further structural reforms for growth, diversification, and competitiveness, including by taking action in favor of a green economic recovery. Before giving the floor to Mr. Laurent MESMANN, GreenCap Coordinator, I just want once again to thank our speakers for taking the time to join this conference and for sharing their views. But also, I want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude and my admiration for this remarkable and innovative conference to both my GreenCap and EuroCham colleagues. Finally, dear participants, I wish you a very fruitful session on SDG.
Thank you so much, Denis. So as Denis have mentioned, I would like to invite Mr. Laurent MESMANN. He's the National Coordinator of GreenCap Cambodia. Thank you, Laurent.
Thank you, Atanak, and thank you, Denis. So good afternoon from the Royal University of Law and Economics, and I'm very proud this afternoon to represent our consortium of universities from Europe and from Cambodia. Very happy today to introduce this second day of the Digital Youth Conference, focusing today on sustainable development goals. And of course, I would have preferred to have all of you with us in a hotel or at the university, but we must be very thankful anyway to be able to organize it digitally. And I would like to address my thanks to the logistics mastering of EuroCham teams to enable that. So the whole idea of our GreenCap project is to connect universities, students and professors on one side with companies and the private sector on the other side. And we believe this is the most efficient way to achieve altogether SDGs and to enable to enhance green capabilities in Cambodian universities, but also for the younger generation in Cambodia. And we are very happy to have so many young students with us today. May they come from high school, may they come from universities, who are interested in this issue, as we believe this is fundamental for the years and decades to come. So this afternoon, you will have the chance to hear some of our colleagues from UNDP, from ADB, from the Royal Government of Cambodia. And GreenCap is also delighted to bring forward its experts, its representatives from all our 4 Cambodian universities, namely National University of Battambang, National University of Management, Institute of Technology of Cambodia, and the Royal University of Economics, together with our representatives from European partners. So yesterday it was SDU from Denmark, and this afternoon we will have experts from Nantes University and from Vigo University. And I'm also very looking forward this afternoon for the final session where young and dynamic people such as Mr. Sambat, Mr. Oxron, Mrs. Swanit Novi will explain us why they engage in an associative organization which promote values that I believe are essential in dynamism and modernization of Cambodia. So I will not take much more of your time, but just allow me to thank all the individuals who work together in the shadow. You won't see their name in the agenda, but without them, there wouldn't be such a conference. I would like to thank Teng Hong, Ratanak, Sodani, Ria, Rata, Sokunti, Borai, and probably others that I forget. And also, of course, all the speakers that spoke yesterday and the speakers that you're gonna listen to today. So a special tribute as well to our supporting organization for these events, Khmer Times, UNIDO, and UNDP. And of course, we are very proud to co-organize this event with EuroCham. And my final word, and after I'll give the floor to the experts, to the students. So all my best wishes, all my congratulations for your participation to this conference, because this is your future world that you're shaping today, the one of your children and the one of your grandchildren. And these past few years have been difficult for you and for us. Education has been strongly disrupted, but let's try our best so that it gets better and so that we can all live in a peaceful and sustainable planet and country. So I give the floor to my colleagues, and just a last favor, and after I really give the floor. A last favor I'm gonna ask from you, from all the participants. Yesterday I could see that you were very dynamic. You asked a lot of questions through the chat. This was great, this enable interaction with our speakers. If you could, for the last day of this conference, even if you could maybe switch on your camera and maybe speak with us directly, that would be great. I would love to see you to get your energy, and I could sleep as a happy man tonight. So thank you very much. Enjoy this conference, and I give the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you, and thank you for this insightful remarks, and thank you also to Denise for your remarks. So also, without any further delay, I would like to introduce next on our agenda item, the panel's presentation on SDG in Cambodia. So we have especially participation from His Excellency Mr. Kemera. He's the Deputy Secretary General at the National Committee for ESCAP. And also we have Mr. Nuon Weret. He's the Project Manager on Youth Employment at UNDP. And of course, we have Ms. Smita Nakuda. She's the SDG Focal Strategy Policies and Partnership at the department at the ADB. So firstly, on our first presentation, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Kembera to give his presentation for this first part of the conference. Thank you, Your Excellency. Sorry, Excellency, you have to unmute your mic. I'm sorry.
Okay, it happened most of the time. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and dear students. Today I have a very great honors to present. It could be the perspective from the government, or it could be what I can see from my academic journey, because I'm doing a SDG for my PhD. So I was asked to tell the students about my background to be inspirational, but actually I have not much to say. But as long as you like doing, yeah, and you can do something that you really like doing. For example, for me, I like learning. I like learning. I graduated from Japan in 2013, and I came to work as a teacher, as a university lecturer, and until 2019 I was appointed with an additional title, additional position to work with the National Committee for ESCAP, which is a government secretariat to deal almost exclusively with UNESCAP, which is located in Thailand. It has the headquarters there, and it is the largest UN branch, yeah, in the world that cover nation in Asia and Pacific. So after working for ESCAP for several years, I applied to study at University of Tasmania, Australia, and I thought that SDG would be what I should focus on, because just remember in the SDG there's one clause saying that leaving no one behind. So now during this COVID-19 pandemic, there are more saying like no one is safe until everyone is safe. So yeah, it would be guides for the global, the nation in the global to pursue for their development. So thank you very much. I don't know our beloved student really like studying like me, but anything you like to do, yeah, you please commit it to it, and you will enjoy doing it. So let me go to my slide, but I already showed my. Do you see my slide?
Yes, we can. Probably you can have it in full screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I showed full screen. So here is the
Perfect.
7 SDG, the original global goals. But Cambodia has another goal, which is the 18 mine actions. It has gone through the war, and mine clear is another thing that the government should focus on. So before that, I would like to get you, especially our student, to know what are SDG. So SDG were agreed upon by the world nation state in 2015. So the SDG consists of 17 goals and 169 indicators. And all the 169 indicators cover 3 dimensions, like, sorry, not indicator, target, yeah. And all the 169 target cover 3 dimensions: economic, social, and environment, which is different from the MDG, which has only 8 goals. So the MDG was target to the less developed country, like a developing country and less developed country. But the MDG is for the global. So the goals are non-binding. What does it mean by non-binding? That means each nation can use the goal as the guide, but actually each nation cannot follow all the 169 indicators to put it in their development priorities. So they can only choose any indicator that are relevant to their national context for the implementation. That means what is called domestication, make the goals to become domesticated, to become nationalized goal or localized. So the time frame for the implementation of the goal is between 2016 and 2030. So again, as I said, SDG are more complicated. They have broader in terms of number of goals, and all the goals are like interlinkage. So if you improve one goal, if you accelerate one goal, it may affect other goals in terms of positive impact, progress other goal, or negative impacts. It could be a regress to the other goals. So this is the introduction to the SDG. And what is the Cambodian SDG? We started in 2015 to domesticate or to localize the goals, the SDG, into our national context. So the Royal Government of Cambodia made a lot of consultation workshop. As I could, through my literature review, I could say that UNDP has played a very important role in supporting MOP. Ministry of Planning has been the coordinating agency mandated by the Royal Government of Cambodia, and it involved a lot of task or working groups. Yeah, which is led by line ministries. The working group work with the private sector, works with the civil society, national NGO, international NGO, and DP2, development partners, to localize the goal. And as a result, we have developed what is called Cambodian Sustainable Development Frameworks. And the framework consists of 18 goals versus 17 goals, which is mining is added after 18 goals, and the target is reduced by half. So 18 targets versus 169 target, and 148 indicators versus 232 indicators. So this is the progress of this slide. Show the progress of the SDG implementation. The report by the Ministry of Planning in 2020. So you could see we have some kind of issue like lack of data to make an assessment. So 20% of the target have not been assessed because of the lack of available data, and 28 or 31.82% of the the goal are ahead of tracks. That means it's progress faster than we planned. And 28 or 31, 28 goal, I'm sorry, it's the wrong number. But 28 goal is not 31.2. It's 28 goal in terms of goals are on tracks. That means it's progress as planned, and 14 below tracks. Okay, so in general, we could say that SDG Cambodia have made a very good progress before the COVID-19. So what is the strategy by the government to implement the SDG in Cambodia? They try to align, the CSDG, what it's called, Cambodian Sustainable Development Framework, 2016-2030, will be aligned with the National Development Strategy, namely the Rectangular Strategy and the National Strategic Development Plan, as well as other sectoral plans. So they try, the government tried to align the frameworks, the priority with the development strategies. Okay, so this is a good strategy to implement the CSDG, but since the presence of the COVID-19, we could see that the implementation of the SDG would be affected. And last year I did a study for the UNESCAP. I was supported by UNESCAP to do the study on the impact of COVID-19 on SDG implementation and LDC graduation. So I just take some brief on what I found on how the COVID-19 impacted the SDG implementation. So I will present by taking a few of the goals to present you. The first goal is a number of poverty because of, as you see, the job loss, the business is closed. So the returning of migrants and debt consumption. Because of the COVID-19, the previous poverty rate was estimated to be under 10% during 2020, but later on, some agency has estimated that the poverty could rise to around 17%. So there is an increase in poverty. Okay. The second goal is zero hunger, because you know, especially the poor in the urban area and those who live in the rural area are experiencing food security, and some people have to reduce their food consumption. So last year I also went to the rural area to do some interview, and I found out that they have reduced the amount of food they eat, and they also have reduced the quality of food they eat. So most of the people in the rural area, they tend to eat vegetation that they can find around their neighborhood. So they reduced fish and meat significantly for their food consumption. It is related to goal 2 and goal 3, similar, but in addition to the food consumption and some kind of lack of nutrition, people are also affected mentally because they lose job, their business cannot run properly, and sometimes people feel very pressure to be to stay at home for several days when the government imposes restriction. They cannot travel, so they find it difficult for mental health. And at the same time, the royal government changed their focus to fighting COVID-19 and the other issue like fighting with other type of pandemic, malaria or dengue fever have been less paid attention. So it could affect the health of people too. And of course, quality of education. We made a very good progress achieving the MDG in terms of education for all, but pandemic has made children to stay at home. The closure of the school for a few months make them unable to learn, and when adapting the online e-learning, there are some problem because children just only better off children from better off family can get access to online education because they have internet connection and they have equipment like a pad, like a PC that they could use for study. But even though they can access to education, to online education, but the number the student have to study is shorter per day. So it really affects the quality of education, and at the same time it also increase the gap between the rich and the rich children and the poor children. Okay, and again, gender equality. I forgot to mention. Some children in the rural area were asked by the family to have an income, so during the difficulty. So it also affect the children learning too. During that time, not only in Cambodia, but in the rest developing country, we could see that there is an increase in domestic violence. With job loss, women are at the increased risk of gender-based violence, GBV, and exploitation. And again, job loss tend to have happened to mostly women. So, for example, the closure of the garment factory, yeah, and I think Cambodia another sector is tourism sector. A lot of women are working in working in the food and beverage industries, so they are affected most. That could be made a larger gap between the male and female employment. Okay, so I only mentioned about a few SDG that could be, I think there should be paid more attention to accelerate it. Between we need the commitment from the government and the collaboration from the donor to help improve the situation, to accelerate it, because again, if we don't take action, we delay the implementation, it would not be good, because these kind of SDG are about social dimension. So improving the social dimension would help, especially the poor the most. Okay, and again, this is the last slide. What is ESCAP? So, and what is the National Committee for ESCAP? So ESCAP is the largest regional government platform comprising 53 member states and 9 associate members. What ESCAP work? Yeah, not only in Cambodia. Yeah, but in Cambodia, we have the National Committee for ESCAP, and ESCAP work to help the SDG in mission in Cambodia is strengthening and implementing equitable and sustainable economic and social development policy and program, including regulatory and institutional frameworks, preparing, participating in and benefiting from multilateral and regional trade, transport, information and communication technology, energy and environmental partnership and agreement, and building effective partnership with civil society, entitled and private sectors, and reviewing progress in achieving internationally agreed development goals and target adopted at the global and regional conference. So the National Committee for ESCAP coordinate all communication. We work as a channel for the communication between UNESCAP with one of our mandate as a National Committee for ESCAP is research. So we have got a lot every year. Like we have support from the UNESCAP to do some research, like 1 or 2 research per year, to develop the committee capacity and to share knowledge and experience about Cambodia to our line ministry, to other country in the regions too. So I think that's all for my presentation, and thank you very much. I'm not sure if I could finish what's in the time allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Gemura. Thank you for your presentations. So next, I would like to invite Mr. Nonveria. He is the project manager of youth employment at UNDP. Mr. Veria, I would like to give you the floor. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, colleagues and excellencies, guests and speakers, and especially young people who are participating in these workshops. I think, and thank you very much to GreenCap team and EuroCham for inviting me to speak in these sessions. I think this workshop and our conference is really special, and it is organized in the right time, where young people need information and support to thrive in this crisis time. So without further ado, let me share my presentation. Yep, thank you again for having me for this session. And I try to frame my presentation in a way that because when I see the name of Excellency Kembera here, I think he should be the perfect person to provide information about SDGs and this what I expected, and it just happened. So I will try to frame it from youth employment perspective. So before going to the presentation, let me provide some background of myself. I am Vidya. I currently working at the UNDP Cambodia, responsible for youth employment project. And before that, I spent some time working with Adidas Sourcing. It's a global brand working on I think here in Cambodia, it sources garment product and footwear products from Cambodia. responsible for social environmental affairs for the company for more than a year, and I also spent some time working with the International Labour Organization, the ILO, for 3 or 4 years, working on, I think, exactly the topic that GreenCap is working today. It's about labor compliance, social environmental safeguarding and compliance in the garment sector, and helping enterprises to improve their green aspect, to improve safety and compliance, especially labor compliance. So I will skip the SDG part because Excellency Canberra just provide really details information. Moving to UNDP work, how UNDP engage with SDGs. For young people who might not know about UNDP, UNDP is the full name is United Nations Development Program. It works in, I think, more than 170 countries across the globe to help the country to eradicate poverty, reduce inequality, and promote gender equality and sustainability aspects of the development. And so far it has been playing a critical role in supporting countries, including Cambodia, to deliver sustainable development goals. And in terms from a country perspective, as Excellency Canberra just mentioned, UNDP works closely with the government to support the localization, or we can say nationalization process of SDG, where we add another goal into the pools, which is on mine clearing and support to the victim of landmines. The same as other UN agency in the country, UNDP play an important role to support UN country team to attain SDGs, the SDGs through a joint umbrella we call United Nations Development Framework, where all UN agency, specialized agency work together to achieve within a certain time frame. And UNDP also, it has a country development program that I think for now, 2019 to 2023, it focuses on promoting prosperity, planet, which focus on sustainability aspect, climate change, and circular economy. And another pillar is the peace. We also prioritize peace and governance as a part of the country program for current program timeline. I should highlight one aspect that UNDP play also a critical role in terms of helping the government to explore the financing mechanism for development or for SDG, the SDG to be exact. Recently we launched in collaboration with Royal Government of Cambodia and a few other development partners, launch a development a development finance assessment, where it try to analyze the financial flow for development and also find the innovative ways to finance the SDG. And as everyone know, financing SDG is not an easy problem to solve, and it's a problem of every country, not only Cambodia, but it's a global issue in terms of financing SDG. From a youth employment perspective, we also take care of promoting and expanding employment opportunity for young people. A few areas that I myself work directly is on policy research and development around helping the country to digital economy transitions, and we done a few important research on that. We also run skill development program for young people. For example, we, in partnership with local partners, we established an accounting program for young people to upgrade their skills, and also supplies accounting bookkeeper to the SME as well. We also work on digital skill apps, digital upskilling and entrepreneurship capacity building for young people for the last 2 years. We do work with the Ministry of Labor and under the collaboration with the National Employment Agency on public employment services, like providing more job information and career matching, career guidance to young people. And of course, we also work on the business development and youth startup as well to explore initiative or solution for job creation for the countries. The organizer Lyze talked to me and asked a question to why young people, why should we discuss the SDG today, and why you should be concerned. I think, and I thought about it, and I could think of a few examples here, a few reasons that why you should be concerned about SDG, and there should be more reasons, but I would like to highlight 4 reasons. One of them is the SDG is one of the best development framework we have so far. As Excellency Kimbira just mentioned, the MDG was purely on economic development, and a few other framework were quite short and not really holistic and comprehensive. And SDG is an example of comprehensive development framework that we have, and some statistic that also shows that around 10 million people were consulted when this global development goals were developed. So it's really important and holistic for every country, every individual should be using as the roadmap for development in the years to come. And the second reason is individual and institution are important to achieve this SDG, because all the goals are interrelated and integrated and need everyone participation to help and achieve this goal. Individual decision can make a huge change to this goal. The third reason is the fact that the arrival of COVID-19 make our discussion today is more important than ever, I think, because young people are affected the most. If we see it from a education lens, we see it from a job opportunity lens, they are most affected. And I also catch a point that we have because of the recent finding from the UNDP report, we see a drop in financial flow for development finance, and because of the COVID. And the estimation based on the report, we lost around $3.6 billion of financial flow for development finance. It's a huge, and we need to think and rethink about our SDG to make sure we still get it on time in the next 9 years. The last reason that young people should really care about the SDG because they are both the change agent and both beneficiary. There are lots of examples where young people can benefit from SDG program, and also they can be the next entrepreneur or innovator that really run successful startup business and that create job for the young people, and they should be playing a key role in achieving SDGs. I think we talk a lot about SDGs. So since I work for some time on the world of work, spent some time with the ILO, with the Adidas, and also with young people before that. Let me give my perspective on the world of work. I think it's important for young people and especially this group to know that the world of work, the nature of job has changed a lot recently. One of this analysis that done by UNDP Global Accelerator Lab on the world of work, they found a lot of changes in the nature of work. Because the fact that there are many factors that driving this change. You can see the change in population and demographics across the world that led to you can see more AI and robotic technology could be used to support workplace or daily life. And second, there are new technologies and there are many digital work platforms available, and more importantly, the environmental challenges really trigger the change and trigger the demand for new skills to support the new form of economy. You can see a lot of business model created in the country as well as in the world. And example in Cambodia, for the last 2 years, you don't see many motor driver or traditional tuk-tuk driver, because they need to change and they need to have more skill and participate in the new form economy. And I like to also pick up a point of the fact that when you change the way we work, when you change like for example, from a well-being aspect, we don't really know whether this new form of work provide the same protection for young people or for workers the same way workers received in the past. We know less about how the contract being made between employer, the digital platform made between the worker, for example, delivery man. I don't know if they get the same protection as traditional work provided to them. For example, annual leave, holiday, social protection, and medical insurance. People used to get in the different ways in traditional workplaces. So this kind of thing we expect, and of course there are a lot of debate about AIs and automations, and even in Cambodia for the last 2 years I've been in the middle of debate whether we are facing the risk of automation in some of the sector, for example government sector, and there's still a lot of discussion, but technology adoption is happening in the country and everywhere in the world. I have just 2 more slides to offer my perspective on 2 job sector to make it more relevant to the workshop today. I like to pick up on the green job. I think yesterday's speaker touched on this subject a lot, and so basically I try to pick up a few drivers that drives the transition toward green economies, and also a few examples how green job taking place in Cambodia, and a skill here I will not go into detail, but a few factors that drives the green job. You can based on the recent ILO report on green job, we say the environmental challenges and pressure is the key driver lead to green economy and change people's behavior and frame their way of business and economic structures. And the second thing is the second driver is regulation and standard. I will give an example of that because of that how green job is growing and how green skills are needed. Technology and innovation, of course, you can see more solar or renewable energy technology available, and we need people to not to create but to use. Still need people with skills, different skills to use. And the markets not used to be in developed nations, Europe and European country and United States and so on. But now it's also growing in developing world, in Asia, specifically in China and in many other Asian countries. They have experienced a shift in consumer behavior and market. I don't have the data on how many green jobs in Cambodia, but other speaker would have that, and I think they provided yesterday, but I forgot. I try to put it simple ways to make a sense how green job is happening in Cambodia. One example, if you look at the job sector in the total economy here. I pick up agriculture still provide more than 33% of the job across the economy, and it reflects a great potential for green skill to exist in this sector. When we are talking about green job, it's not about new occupation. It's also the skill and the occupation within the existing job. So this provides a big potential for the country that there will be demand in green skill, so that people can stay relevant in the job in the agriculture and make the agriculture product more productive because of the skill they need to have and stay relevant. The second example from my own experience from the garment sector, I think.
Sorry, Mr. Rede, I just want to let you know if you can wrap up maybe in 2 minutes, because
Okay.
we'll have to move on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. So one more example is in the garment sector, and there's roughly 700 factories in the garment sector in Cambodia, and every factory in this sector need to comply with international standard, environmental standard, and to see it as an example of how it creates jobs, they need people with skill to make sure their enterprise, their arrangement comply with this standard. So they have 700 factory need at least 700 jobs, and you can say OSA officer or compliance manager, they need to have that skill to work. Moving to last slide, my perspective on digital job. I think it's not separated from green job. Whatever job you're gonna do, you will need green digital skill in the future, whatever sector you are in. So and because of the rapid technology adoption, and I just would like to pick up the the recent survey data here, specifically in Cambodia, we projected among the survey firm, we did survey with 200 firms, we see around 30% increase in the demand for digital skill in the countries for the next few years. So this is something that important for young people to know and prepare themselves to integrate with the economy. Thank you. I should end here, and thank you for your.
Thank you, Mr. Veda, for your presentation. I'm sure our students have learned a lot from your presentation. So moving on next, I would like to quickly introduce our next speakers, Ms. Smita Nakuda. Ms. Smita, she serves as the ADB focal point on the Sustainable Development Goal, where she leads specifically this area of work. So thank you, and I now pass on the floor and the slide to you. Thank you so much.
While my slides are loading, let me start by thanking you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to join all of you for this very important discussion. I'll try to keep it short because I know we have many more speakers yet to come. So let me start. I was asked to give a bit of a regional perspective on the Sustainable Development Goals, put it in the context of Asia Pacific's efforts to achieve this global agenda, and think a little bit about how organizations like ours, the Asian Development Bank, which is the development finance institution focused on Asia and the Pacific, as well as people and actors are finding value and meaning in this framework. So let me start with a quick kind of look back at the 17 SDGs, which have now been addressed by all of the speakers that have spoken already as 17 goals to change our world. But let me just pick up on one thing that really kind of excites me and helps me find value in the SDG framework, but is also kind of the perennial challenge that I face as the focal point for this agenda within an institution that works on all 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. So the strength of the Sustainable Development Goals, as our colleagues have noted, is that it's a holistic framework that touches upon issues that touch each of our lives, bringing people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships as kind of key guiding principles together. And the real value of that is no matter who you are, no matter what it is that excites you about your work or makes you want to get up in the morning and do something, there's something for you in the Sustainable Development Goals framework, right? So if you care about poverty, if you care about vulnerable people, if you care about children, if you care about the climate, if you care about the fact that your water isn't safe to drink, there's something in the Sustainable Development Goals framework for you. And this is the product of that consultative, inclusive process through which these 17 goals were agreed. But that's also the challenge with this framework. There's so many aspects of this agenda. There's so much in it. There's so much interconnection, and maximizing the value that the goals present as a possibility and delivering on it in reality is really at the core of the challenge that I think we're confronting. And it's the core of the issue that the COVID-19 pandemic has driven home to us in many ways, right? So even before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, countries in our region were taking the agenda seriously, but as a whole, the region was off track to achieve all 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And this reflects the ambition of this agenda, right? The goals were always designed to be aspirational, to give all countries, rich and poor, something to work towards, something to aspire towards. That's hard. The issues that the SDGs take on are not easy ones for any country, no matter how rich, no matter how poor. And overall, we weren't on track to achieve the goals as a region, even though on individual goals and individual targets, we were making hugely important progress. And some of the gaps in our attainment of the SDGs have been at the core of some of the challenges that we've confronted as we've sought to take on the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So we had SDG targets around things like managing non-communicable diseases. We had, and communicable diseases. We had SDG targets around strengthening our health systems, around ensuring better social protection coverage. And the weaknesses in our efforts to address those targets have been part of what have compounded our efforts to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. So this really drives home, I think, some of the implications that this has had for our region. So we heard already about the particular effects that have been felt in Cambodia on poverty, on women, on people in rural areas who were particularly vulnerable. These effects are felt at regional level as well, right? So we estimate at ADB that some 78 million people in the region as a whole are likely to have been pushed below the poverty line, back into poverty, putting our poverty rates in the region back to around 2015 levels. So significant regression on one of the goals that many of our countries had been really proud to have been able to report at least significant progress on, even if the whole agenda of inclusive development was somewhere off track, right? One issue we've heard maybe a little less about, other than in the context of jobs, is that of environment and climate change. But that has, I think, been the focus of your discussions yesterday. But let me just take a moment to highlight that, even before the pandemic hit, environmental sustainable development goals were particular challenges for our region. We weren't making adequate progress on these, and on some we were in fact regressing. And despite severe economic contraction brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, we've observed very modest effects when it comes to reducing emissions. So globally, we've estimated that despite the severe economic effects of the pandemic, emissions reduced by less than 7% in 2020. That's the best available global estimate. So very, very little change to global emissions despite very severe economic effects. And our vulnerability to climate change, something that we feel every day as we see increasingly severe weather effects, compounded the toll that COVID-19 took in our region, adding to the death toll in 2020. So that's kind of the context within which I think we have a kind of reckoning moment, I guess, as an international community, as countries, as young people who want to see a better future for ourselves, to think about how we can build on the foundation that we had established around SDG implementation and really amplify our efforts to achieve the goals despite the setbacks that the COVID-19 pandemic has posed. So as I mentioned, the foundation here, I think, is strong. The potential here is strong. We heard very inspiring stories from my colleague, His Excellency Kim, about the steps that Cambodia has already taken to really nationalize and think about ways in which the foundation for SDG attainment in Cambodia can be taken forward. And we see this at regional level as well. Countries have been taking this agenda seriously. They have been taking steps to act on it, to embed it in their national planning and budgeting and financing frameworks. But there's much more that remains to be done. And this is our opportunity to really look at these building blocks of SDG implementation, the institutional arrangements and the incentives that each of us have to embed the goals in the work that we do and the targets that we set for ourselves. The planning and budgeting processes that we put in place, the financing strategies that we develop to meet the financing gaps, recognizing the issues that my colleague spoke to about the drop that we've seen in investment in the areas that matter in some of our countries over the last year, and in data, right? Because we need to know what we're making progress on. We need to know how fast we're getting there. We need to know where the gaps are in order to bridge those gaps. So we see those as kind of the 4 building blocks of SDG implementation that we now have an opportunity to refocus on as part of recovery efforts. I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about what ADB is doing on this agenda, and just note that we have a long-standing partnership with both the Economic Commission for Asia Pacific and UNDP on the Sustainable Development Goals in the region, aimed at fostering kind of regional knowledge, progress, and policy dialogue around the issues. But we've also been really working to embed the SDGs in our own operations, in our own strategies. So in 2019, we adopted our Strategy 2030, which really puts the Sustainable Development Goals at the headline level in terms of the ambitions that we want to help our developing member countries work to achieve. Through our knowledge, through our technical assistance support, through our capacity building support, through our partnerships that we foster. And we have established 7 operational priorities that we're supporting through our operations under the strategy, and each of these link to all 17 of the SDGs. So through these operational focus areas, we're really trying to ensure that our projects help countries make progress on these goals and do a better job as we go of looking at interlinkages across the goals within our own portfolio and in our engagement with our countries and stakeholders within those countries. And of course, young people are a crucial part of the stakeholder group that we're looking to serve and engage with as we take our operations forward. We've really stepped up our efforts to report on and reflect on our contributions to this agenda, including as we seek to develop ways in which we can help our countries pursue green, resilient, inclusive, and sustainable recovery from the pandemic. So let me leave it there. I know we've got many more speakers who have much more to say. Happy to come in and answer any specific questions that you might have. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nakuda. So I believe our speakers have touched upon on various issues and content on SDGs in Cambodia. So I think my colleague Lyze, she would like to ask 1 or 2 questions to our main speakers. So Lyze, I think I will give you now the floor. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Ratanak. Thank you also to Ms. Nakuda, His Excellency Vera, and Mr. Nun for your presentations. So before we move to the rest of the program, I do have a question. I also want to let you know that His Excellency Mr. Vera will have to leave us very soon, so we won't have time to have a Q&A with him. But he is also on the platform, so don't hesitate to go and search for him and contact him through direct message or to request a one-on-one meeting. So my question is, I saw in your bios that you have gained a lot of knowledge about sustainable development, its progress, to your experience, research that you have conducted, publications. Your Excellency, you mentioned that the implementation time frame is until 2030. So from your perspective, what is your vision about 2030? What can we expect as a result? Will there be significant reduction of the global footprint? Will we close enough the gender, poverty, skills gap? So what do you think? We can start with His Excellency.
Okay, thank you very much. That is a very good question and a very difficult question too, because talking about the government of Cambodia, the what we call high-level political leader have a very strong commitment to achieve the goals, to work on the goal, but because of the changing situation caused by COVID-19, we are not sure all the goal would be achievable. We have prioritized some goals, some area, by reducing the target by half, from 169 targets to 88, by half in the Cambodian CSDG. But I think maybe there should be some kind of modification again. So reprioritization of the goal would be focus again. This is my personal point of view. It's not the government point of view, but I think it should be refocused. And I may not fully answer your question because you asked about the global levels. So I think every country, especially developing country, have severely impacted by COVID-19, especially the poor. So the poor of the poor country are severely affected, and what we could see is we should re-energize on the area. If we talk about the environment, probably it would be the second step. But I think we should re-energize the social dimension first, before we could accelerate the economic growth. So by looking at the health system, strengthening the health system, social protection, for example, and how to get the poor children from poor family to be back to school, because it is very important when the children are left behind, because we should not leave them behind anymore. So if you look at Cambodia, it's the children in the rural area have very difficult access to online learning. So there should be some innovation, I guess, for the our students, our youth who are attending, should find the best solution to improve this situation, to bring the children back to school, and by using your knowledge in what we call digital experts, your digital expert to make all the children in the rural area to attend school through e-learning platform, any e-learning platform that could be very feasible, very easy for them to access, and cost very low and accessible cost. So I have read the high level political forum, the presentation and the concerns. Again, they are the country who participated in the forum this year are very concerned whether they can achieve the SDG within the framework, and some of them just think that there should be the time frame should be delayed, but the rest they think that they should accelerate the implementations rather than the delay. So I'm not quite sure. So for me, I am not sure whether we should delay or we should accelerate to meet the target by 2030. But I think some of the key areas should be strengthened to have people, especially before they said in the principle of SDG is leaving no one behind, but now, yeah, we talk about, for example, one of the key issue is the spreading of the pandemic. So we need to, the rich country need to have the poor country to what we say, to be safe from the pandemic. So because although the rich countries think that they have stocked a lot of vaccines, yeah, they need to give to the poor country to get the poor country access to it, because even though they are safe, like one of I forgot his name, but in the high-level political forums in New York this year, he said that no one is safe if everyone is not safe. So I think the cooperation, in the region, the world, from in the world, the rich, the poor country need to act together to make sure that we have overcome this difficulty. I may not answer your question wholly, but I hope that this is my point of view.
Answer. Yeah. I think it was definitely a perfect answer. There's so much to do and so many areas in which we can improve. So I see that you will probably have to leave. So I would like to thank you again for joining us. I would like to invite again the students to reach out to you. So feel free to stay a little bit longer or to leave if you have to. So thank you a lot, Your Excellency.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you
very much.
I have a meeting from 3:30. I'm sorry, it's very interesting workshop.
Okay.
So it's very interesting, but I have to leave now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I will now go to Mr. Noon and Ms. Nakuda. If you could maybe also answer, but maybe in one sentence, a key thoughts on 2030. Ms. Nakuda?
Sure. I guess in one sentence, I'd say, the moment is now, right? It's very rare to have a reckoning moment like the one that the pandemic has dealt the world. And everyone likes to say that a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I'm sure you've heard that cliche a few times at this point. But this is the kind of crisis that has driven home the relevance of this agenda and the need for us to refocus on it. So I would say, if there were a moment, that moment is now. And while the challenges are daunting, I think the power of the framework is its ambition, and that it creates a role for each of us in trying to deliver on that ambition.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Noon?
Yeah, but I think it's a hard question to provide a short answer. Personally, I think I would give opinion on young people perspective. So I personally still optimistic despite crisis. The only way I should feel, and because of the young people of the country, we have a huge proportion of young people that has the potential to help and recover the economy for this country. And for today's session, I would say we continue to upgrade young people's skill, and young people themselves should pay more attention and try more. A lot of opportunity around entrepreneurship development. They can do more about that. And the last point is we can explore more opportunity around digital economy and green economy that we are talking today. There will be more job, more business created out of this sector. So be positive and do more. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm happy that all of you are optimistic for the future. So talking about future, let's move on. So I will invite Mr. Nakuda and Mr. Virek to stay online, as we will have the Q&A at the end. So in the program, we were supposed to have a little break, a little game. For those that were there yesterday, we had a little game about some facts, but unfortunately we are running out of time, so we will move it to the end if we still have a little bit of time. But I would like to already introduce our next panel. So for the next panel, we will be focused on 3 different SDGs. We will be focused on gender equality, quality education, and also on environmental issues. So we will start with the gender equality. And to talk about gender equality, we have the honor to have Dr. Claire GAUZENTE. Dr. Claire GAUZENTE, I invite you to introduce your work, especially related to gender equality, because I know that you did a lot of research, on other subjects. But can you tell us more what it really means? We talk a lot about gender equality, but what does it really mean? And why is it important to talk about this now in 2021?
Hello, thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yes, perfectly.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm happy with this. First, I want to thank you and the organizers for this initiative, which I find quite timely and important. I also want to stress the high quality talks that I've heard and I'm very glad to try to contribute to this. I will just make, I think I have something like 5 minutes to talk. So I will be quick. But for the audience, you have to know that there are some resources that will be made available for you by the organizers. So why is gender equality important? Well, probably you have an idea about this, but it is important because it causes discriminations, and these discriminations threatens the equilibrium not only of human beings but also of environment, as clearly if there's no respect for people, male, female and others, there will be no respect for life and environment. So this is why I think it is really, really important. The gender lens is an approach that helps you to understand how the society organizes in order to create and perpetuate inequalities. So gender is a social and cultural construct that distinguishes differences in the attributes of men and women, girls and boys. Of course, it can evolve over the time, it can vary across cultural contexts, but nevertheless, it frames the behavior of women and of men based on the idea of femininity and masculinity. And it also helps to perpetuate inequalities. So this is a stereotyping process where you think that men and boys, they are tough, dominant, aggressive, independent, logical. That's a stereotype. And another stereotype is about women. They are nurturing, submissive, passive, talkative, emotional. And based on these really harsh description, the society and people themselves will choose to allocate more or less resources, more or less legitimacy, more or less, I don't know what, but that's the point. So if we want to change this, we have first to understand what is stereotyping process, what is gender inequality, and we have to fight against this using 3 different levels. I'm thinking here about the personal and interpersonal level, first being self-conscious, the institutional level, and also the organizational level where public and private organization, workplace, etc. So I have put the expert of a small test in the resources I've prepared for you, and you can go there and try your test and see how gender biased you are, and then maybe try to see things differently. So in Europe, there's a commitment toward gender equality using different tools, both legislative tools and non-legislative tools. And there have been achievements. One thing that is important in the workplace is to try to achieve equal pay, to develop social dialogue, and to develop as well measuring tools, and also certification and reporting obligations. Because if companies have to report, then they will a little bit progress. So for instance, in France, there's been such reporting obligation, and there's an index that has been developed. There are pros and cons concerning metrics, but at least it's a first step. And also what is important is the development, not only at the institutional level, of plans with schedules and really specific actions. So we really have to be operational and have measurable goals. Lastly, what I want to stress, again, I am going back to stereotypes, is the fact that those stereotypes impede women and girls to go towards a certain number of studies and then after towards certain jobs. And in particular, scientific, engineering, technical careers are often discarded by women and girls because they think they will not succeed, and they do not have the skills, etc. So it's obviously it's not true, and as women and girls, we have to invest all the panel of the possibilities. So you can be an engineer in agriculture, in the digital market, just like my colleague said previously, and you should not be afraid of going toward those type of jobs and studies and training. So maybe I will end at this stage.
Yes, thank you so much. So I really enjoyed what you said, that it's not only the responsibility of the government, society, but it can start with ourselves, and to really recognize the fact that we have these biases that are there. And I really encourage the students to go and to visit your profile on the platform and to do the tests and to learn more about this, because it's part of everyone. It's everyone's concern. It's not about women. It's about the whole society. And if we are able to improve that, it can be beneficial for everyone. So thank you so much, Dr. And I know that you will have to leave also shortly. So again, if you're not able to stay for the Q&A, feel free then to reach out to students to share some information. You're also able to upload some videos. And then you can continue this conversation with the students, who I'm sure will have a lot of questions for you. So
yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So next we have Dr. Katharina SCHNEIDER, who is currently working in Battambang. She is an anthropologist, and she worked internationally on different continents about gender, and she worked a lot around gender. So Dr. SCHNEIDER, can you tell us how it is to work in Battambang? And can you also maybe share your observations of gender equality in Battambang in comparison with other places where you worked? I would like to just remind the speakers to, I know that it's very hard what I'm asking to, give a concise answer, but please keep in mind that, the platform will be there for 2 weeks, and you are able to interact also with the students.
Right. All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy and pleased to be here, take part in this event, which has been fascinating. I have to say a big thank you to the previous speaker for doing the hard job of introducing gender, all of it. that really leaves me nicely free to speak from my perspective, which is a micro perspective and also one from within higher education at the moment. So I'm currently based in Battambang at the National University of Battambang at the Faculty for Sociology and Community Development. I work as an advisor on the German Civil Peace Service program of the German Development Agency, GIZ. I work for a program that is called SAUP, and the long name is too long to spell out in 5 minutes. SAUP supports universities in different countries in Southeast Asia in developing programs, undergraduate, graduate research on peace and also on development, sustainable development. This program connects academics in Southeast Asia and also in Germany, and it supports collaborations between universities and civil society organizations, peace and development practitioners in their area. And this is meant to give students access to relevant, locally relevant knowledge, skills, and allow them to build networks that will facilitate their transition into work in this field. So that's SAUP. SAUP is a very new program, and I only started working in Cambodia 4 months ago. So I cannot speak as an expert on gender in higher education in Cambodia. We're just preparing a new program here at the faculty. And what I do want to do just in the beginning stages of this work that I'm doing is just to share a story about the very, very early steps we're taking here about integrating gender into a project in higher education. Now, this is integrating gender, and thinking about that constantly in everything we do is really a requirement for GIZ and for the Civil Peace Service. I'm grateful for that because it means I've had to start thinking about it long before I came to Battambang. And the way I do it usually when I'm new to a place, I've worked in Papua New Guinea, I've worked in Indonesia and different places. When I'm so new, like here, I think about 3 points. I think about access to education, gender-specific, gender-based access to education. I think about experiences that students make, both at universities and in their communities while they're studying. And I think about educational outcomes. What can students actually do with the education that they gain, and how does it change?
Dr. Schneider, I think I will go on with the next speaker. We will have a Q&A at the end, and maybe during the Q&A you can then further elaborate on the importance of the experience both at school and also outside of school, and explain a little bit more about the comparison between the different places where you have been. So I will move then next to Dr. Kong. So we're going to move to the next SDG. So we just talked about gender equality. We will move to education. I'm sure that a lot of people are very interested to hear about that. Welcome, Doctor. So we talked a lot about green jobs yesterday and also today. But can you tell us more about green education and what specific skills students are learning through green education?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and particularly to the student. I like to talk with the student actually, and also those who are interested in the education, as I'm from the educational institution. And we talk about the education, like one of the point in SDG number 4. But it's not only education, but we said about the what's called the quality of education. So when we said about the quality of education, we have to think many things, the quality. But in terms of the quality, we have to also check the quantity. But I want to reflect to the situation a little bit in the Cambodia, how the higher education or the primary education is, how is it going right now? I mean, the indicator of the enrollment. For example, when we talk about the enrollment percentage of the student from year 5, year 3 to year 5, between year 3 to year 5, based on the statistics in 2018, from the Ministry of Education, we have only like 40% of these students in this level. I mean, this age, only 3 to 5 years old. That only 40% they can get and enroll to the school. How about the situation for the higher education for university degree? So based on the statistic, the same source, we have only like less than 15, particularly on the 11% of the adults that finished high school, that they continue to the higher degree of, university degree. By looking is that this indicator, we have before talking about to advancement or improving of education and also the quality of education. So it still be the challenging and concern for the Cambodia, that we need to work more together. Like for example, university have to try best how we can absorb the student or push the student. This is talking only about the number, how many student, how many percent of the student who finish high school and enter to university. So it still be concerned, but this is just a brief concern. But in terms of the the society need, and also globalization, the changing, and also the paradigm shift of the education system. We have to think also how we can make things better. Even we try to make it even increasing the number of students enrolled in university, but at the same time we need to think also about the quality. So now we're talking about the green education. So for the green education, it's a kind of one thing that we need to work on to move the same as what the Western or the developed country is working. Because as you know that based on the one of the main purpose of the national development strategy, and also the sustainable development goal, Cambodia need to try best to become the upper middle income country in 2030. So the education is very important for this to achieve and to make the Cambodia living in the better place. And also we need to think also about the 2050 of higher income country. This is what is reflect to the importance of the human resource. But at the same time, the human resource is not to think how we educate people to work in the society, but we need to think how they work and responsible for the environment. So this is important. So that green education in this manner, we need to think about two things. One thing is about educate the people to work for sustainability of the economic and livelihood. At the same time, we need to think about how they have mindset to conserve the environment. So two things you have to think about the green education strategy. So, but to support these two things, we have a lot of factor to think about. And the new skill, talking about new skill, I also add up to the previous, connect to the previous speakers, that I very good that we think about the digital education, and digital skill is very important. Yeah, and also at the same time, for the education perspective at the university level, the student need to think about how they can create the new. We have three skills, but I can summarize of all of those. That Ministry of Education try to ask the university to think how we can develop our curriculum to improve on the three main of the skill. First one we call connective skill, that the student have to make it critical thinking and to make it how they can make new things. And also they need to think about another skill is about the communication, and also the another thing is about the how they can make the sustainability of the society. It's not only the profit, because nowadays the industrial or the company outside, we need to change, because before the company they try to make the thing about the benefit, but now they have to change the idea. It's not the benefit, only the benefit, but it do for the purpose. The student also, yeah. So it's mean that back to how the university can make the things to cope with what is the changing. They need to make to think again how they can develop and in 21st century education system. Yeah. So this is the one of the point I want to raise. For example, they have to think from, like before we used to give the student like a teacher center, but 21st century teaching method, we have to make a learner center. Before we do what we call textbook based, but now it's driven by the research, and the student need more space, yeah, to join and to discuss together. It means that we provide the project based for the student to have brainstorming on the issues and the problem discussion. So it's not based on the textbook anymore. We need to think about how the student make it better more than memorizing the things like in the traditional education. So all of these things we at the university need to think together. Like right now, Ministry of Education is making internal qualification framework and as the guideline, and then all the universities have to comply with this, and soon they will have the what we call pilot of curriculum assessment at ITC. This is one of the things that we need to work together. So yeah, I can also give more idea on how the 21st century skill for the student, but we can move to the discussion point. But so thank you to the facilitator. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you will have the opportunity to share more information later on. So what I learned is really educating and upskilling students for practical current problems and future problems, and make sure that we have a sustainable growth for the society. And with this thought, I want to go back to Dr. Schneider and maybe talk about again, how through education as well, and outside of education, through our experiences, we can also make sure that the society is more inclusive towards women.
Right. Thanks for getting back to me, and I hope it will last. My signal. We'll see. So what I wanted to talk to you about is really just a number. It's a ratio, 50-50. Student body at NUBB at the moment is 50% female, and you should think that this is great. But if you talk to the lecturers, they tell you something that really complicates the story. Why is it 50-50? What I learned, and I'm really just learning, this is not data, this is just observation for now, and listening to people who know more about this, is that parents in northwestern Cambodia who are pressed for resources and who may not be able to afford for all their children to attend university will typically try to send the boys to the capital to study, if they're talented, and the girls who may be equally talented will be sent to Battambang city. Why? Well, first of all, this is a way of making it possible for more siblings to study. Second, it is because it's considered safer for the girls to be closer to home, closer to their parents, not so far away in the big city. Unfortunately, it is also the case that the same parents consider educational opportunities to be better in the capital than in the provinces. So what we are seeing here is an apparently perfect gender ratio in the student body. that is actually created by a combination of factors that together produce gendered inequality in access to education for women. So it's a complex picture, right? We have locational factors. Educational opportunities are not equally spread between capital and provinces. We have economic factors. Some households are pressed for money for sending their kids to university. And then we have these underlying factors about what are men like, what are women like, what do girls need, what do boys need, whom do we have to protect here? And I think this is, I want to really leave you with that, with just this image of 50-50 of an apparently perfect situation being created through dynamics that actually exclude women from many possibilities. And I would like to ask all the students in the virtual room here to think about their own, the ratios at their own institutions and in their own programs, and try to think about what creates these ratios and how it all works. Now, for me, the most pressing question at the moment, of course, is, well, one is, what will COVID do to this? What will online teaching do to women's, girls, boys, men's opportunities in education? But on a more practical level, where do we go at NUBB? And where do we go with the sub-program if we have an already perfect ratio of 50-50 that nevertheless has these underlying issues? So one thing I really want to do is suggest that this be taught, that gender become an explicit part of the curriculum at NUBB, hopefully in different courses and very different curricula, so that students themselves can start thinking about this and can gain the necessary knowledge and analytic skills to investigate what is going on, what these dynamics are that are in fact shaping their access to education, shaping their opportunities, and shaping their lives. And so that they start to have a language, have a way of talking about this and naming the problems that they see, and also starting to think together about solutions. Thank you very much. That's all for me, also in the interest of time. And I hand back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Indeed, it's very, very important to understand also the why, so that we can, find the solution. So it's not only about quota and data, but it's also to make sure to understand the realities and the society in order that everyone can be involved to try to make a change. So now for the last panelists, we will go over to the environment. To talk about the environment, we have the honor to have Dr. Laurent MESMANN, who's joining us from Spain. And so we talk a lot about environment, I think the environmental impact, but can you tell us, in terms of SDGs, what the scope is of, the environmental challenges, and also talk a little bit about the current, pressing challenges and the future ones.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy of being here with all of you. And thank you so much to the organizers for inviting me to this panel. I've tried to keep it brief. I'm aware of the time constraints. So let me just make a brief introduction about the relationship between SDGs and environment, because even if it's quite obvious, I think we need to make a brief recap about this relationship, because as you know, environment is one of the three main elements of sustainable development, together with economic and social elements, and the three of them are strongly interlinked. And this is obviously reflected in the 2030 agenda, and in fact, this agenda recognizes that social and economic development depends on the sustainable management of our planet's natural resources. And if we have already talked about the different SDGs during this conference, but if you look at the different SDGs at a first glance, you can see that at least 4 out of the 16 substantive goals are directly and primarily concerned with environmental sustainability. We have responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land. But if we look closer, we see that there are another 6 that explicitly refer to environmental sustainability in their formulation: zero hunger, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and sustainable cities and communities. But if we look even closer, and as UNEP, the United Nations Environment Program, has declared, nothing less than 16 out of the 17 SDGs are really related to the environment and directly contribute to monitoring the environmental dimension of SDGs. This means that all of them, but one, all but SDG 10, that is devoted to reduce inequalities, are related to the environment. And in addition, 93 out of 244 indicators are environmental related. So this means that SDGs are much greener than the previous Millennium Development Goals, where, as you know, only one of the goals, Goal 7, was devoted to ensure environmental sustainability. So we can see in this agenda this increasing awareness and realization that we need to transform our relationship with nature. And if we try to identify the major current and future environmental challenges, I will recommend you to read a UNEP report that I'll try to make available on my profile, that was published early this year, in February of this year, by UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Program, that it's entitled Making Peace with Nature, a Scientific Blueprint to Tackle Climate, Biodiversity and Pollution Emergencies. It's a report based on global environmental assessment in different fields. Basically, what it does is to identify 3 major environmental crises. Of course, climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Okay, and this report literally says, I quote, that these are the 3 self-inflicted planetary crises that are closely interconnected and put the well-being of current and future generations at an unacceptable risk. And this report sadly also reflects that, according to the data and indicators that we have now, environmental decline is eroding our progress towards the achievement of SDGs. The world is literally failing to meet these commitments to limit environmental damage. So the key message of this report is that these 3 environmental crises, climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution, should be tackled jointly and within the framework of SDGs. And the message is that we are late in this fight, but there's also, I think, this increasing realization that we need to change this now, and we need to transform this relationship with nature now, because as previous speakers said, the moment is now. We are already late, but we are aware of that, so let's do something. In this sense, I would like to be optimistic. Next year, as you probably know, 2022 is going to mark the 50th anniversary of the emblematic 1972 Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment. And there are some huge high-level meetings prepared for next year at the international level. And I really think that it's going to be a unique opportunity, especially for the states, to further policies, to really be able to implement all the law and policies that we need to really comply with the SDGs that are going to help us to deal with these 3 major environmental crises that we are living right now.
Thank you so much. So from all of you, what I really understand is that the change is now, that we have to become the change that we want to see for the world, which were Gandhi's words. So it's very, very important that we have this dialogue and that we really, understand what is happening, and that we can able to transform this into opportunities through green jobs, through green education. So thank you very much. I know it was very challenging to give all this information in such a short time, but and I invite you, Dr. MOVILLA, to send also the link maybe in this chat, while we open up the Q&A. So I think it's more than time to invite our students to ask some questions. So don't forget that you can also ask some questions to our key speakers. We still have our two key panel speakers here. I think the organizers already opened up the opportunity to drop questions. So feel free to drop questions in the chat box. And at the same time, as Laurent MESMANN was saying in the beginning, we definitely want to hear your voices. Because we are a little bit behind schedule, we will open the Q&A. We won't have the time to probably take all the questions, but we will try to or send them to the panelists, or, well, as we are repeating, this is really an opportunity to get in touch with them. So please use the platform. Don't be shy. Ask questions. You know, debates. Continue this dialogue with the speakers. So I don't see yet any questions, so maybe I can start, and I can go back to the first panel. So Ms. Nakuda, I have a question for you. What do you think and how do you think Asian countries can work together? What kind of synergies can they create to learn from each other? And if they already exist, can you maybe give us an example?
Sure. So I think that actually renewed regional cooperation is going to be one of the keys to enabling recovery that advances the Sustainable Development Goals. So we've seen countries kind of looking inward in order to contain the pandemic, but actually as we hope to make progress towards a more open world again, in which where we focused on the SDGs, cooperation is going to play a number of roles in that context, both on a very practical, pragmatic level as we try to kind of resuscitate ways of movement and engaging and opening borders and those kinds of things, but perhaps more fundamentally as we kind of rethink where the priorities have been in terms of cooperation in the past and where they need to be in the future. So actually this year, this was the focus of our joint ADB UNDP ESCAP study on prospects for COVID-19 aligned recovery. And we really focused on the fact that, you know, regional cooperation going forward will need to focus much more on people-centered development, on promoting more environmentally sustainable ways of trade and economic cooperation, and also on enabling collaboration to realize the full potential of digitalization and technology transformation, because we recognize that there's huge kind of differences between countries as well as within countries. And on those three agendas, I think there's lots of room for countries to be learning from those who've been able to go fast, to learning from those who've been maybe gone fast, but at some cost, left some parts of the agenda behind. And really fostering a lot more learning and exchange and common standards around these three key themes. So maybe let me leave it there.
Thank you so much. So I see a very fundamental question. So how could we define SDGs? So maybe I see that Mr. Noon is still here. Maybe you can share with us like what the definition is of SDGs?
Hi, coming back. I think it's an important question, fundamental, but it's still important for young people to know. There's no definition, but I could say it's a global development goals that adopted by, for your information, 193 countries in the world, and consulted with many people at different stage, and it's a goal to address environmental issue challenges and address the social problem, for example, education, social protections, and also finally economy aspects of development. So it's a global and it take care about 3 aspects of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic aspect. I should stop here. That's the basic information that I should share. If we go long, quite long in terms of SDG. That like Smita mentioned, it's complex and so many things to touch on.
Yeah, I sometimes tend to see it as the perfect guideline for, a better future, and to make sure that, everyone is on board. And it's not only political, it's not only a political instrument, it's something that, every person or every entity that is part of, the world can apply. So thank you. Then we will go to Dr. MOVILLA. We have a question for you. So we have this trend of, digitalization. Do you think this is a good thing for the environment, or will it have, maybe some negative effects? Your mic is still muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Sorry, the question is about if the developments of technology are also good for the environment, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yeah, of course, if we know how to use them, of course, we need green technology to further the protection of environment, but we can use it in the wrong or in the right way. So of course, if we think, for instance, on renewable energy, we need more investment and research on new technologies that allows us to have more and better and resilient and affordable renewable energy. So of course, that should be one of the steps that we should take for a better protection of the environment. But we need to, as with any other thing, we need to know how to use it wisely, and SDGs are precisely a good framework to take as a guidance in this way. But obviously, it's part of the progress, even for the green progress technology.
So it's also a question, it's not only a question about technologies being good or bad, it's about how we use them.
Of course.
Yes, very important. And then we have also a question for Dr. Katharina SCHNEIDER. As an anthropologist, what is your observation about, the stereotypes? You already talked about it, but what is the main observation we should be aware of, and how individually can we also communicate about this with other people? Okay, so we have a question for you in the chat box. A question as an anthropologist. We want to know what your observations are about stereotypes, which is the most important one to be aware of, and how we can raise awareness individually.
Wow, that's a great question. I have to be very, very careful here because I'm very fresh in this setting, and all I'm going to say is based on very kind of thin data, if you even want to call it that. I've had very interesting discussions with very steep learning curves with people who were not familiar with the word stereotype, and who nevertheless picked on very rapidly and saw, oh yeah, this is going on, and who immediately found examples and found connections and found things to talk about from their personal experiences. So it's an interesting conversation that we are having, and my personal call, especially to the teachers in the room, but also to the students, would be to use the term and to talk about it and to actually be able to, if you're put on the spot, define what a stereotype is and say, well, by stereotype, we mean this and this and this, and give 3 or 4 examples. That usually does a lot to change the setting around you, the conversations you can have in this room, and that can spread outward really fast. So establish that common language for observing things and talking about things. That's what I see here, and what I think is also a great way forward. Keep it brief.
I think it was a perfect answer, and yes, we can say so much more about it, right? So I don't see any other questions, so I'll take the opportunity to close the Q&A. I know it was very, very short, but again, you will have 2 weeks to continue to talk about this with our panelists. So thank you so much to our panelists and also to the keynote speakers. I want to move to our last session because it's, I mean, the past Tuesdays, we were able to learn a lot and absorb a lot from different experts, whether it's from academics, from company representatives, from institutions. So we have this now. Most of you are still students, but you are transitioning, as Mr. Chiev said yesterday, you are transitioning from school to your career, you know. And so for that, we wanted to make sure that you know that there are some existing Cambodian organizations that are really there to help, to support, because, you know, when we are together, we go much further than when we are alone, where we go a little bit faster, but still at some point, being together is definitely something valuable. So to make sure that that you know already, because it's never too early to get to know some interesting and essential institutions for the future. We invited as well the Young Cambodian Entrepreneurs Association. We invited also the Cambodian Women Entrepreneurs Association and also AIESEC. To talk about their vision, to talk about what they are doing as an organization, and also how you can reach out to them. Now, before I leave the word to Mr. Boon Sambat, who will talk more about the Young Entrepreneurs Association of Cambodia, I want to thank again the panel. I know that some of the panelists will need to leave at before 4:30. I think that we will be a little bit late on schedule, but I want to thank you. And if you have to leave right now, you can. And I'm sure that some of the students will contact you. So for the next session, I want to invite Mr. Boon Sambat from the Young Entrepreneurs Association, and to talk a little bit about that organization. What can you offer to future entrepreneurs and future professionals?
Thank you for the moderation, and thank you for inviting us for as a YEAC Young Entrepreneur Association for this session and to share what we are doing. So as the name of the association explains, it's a Young Entrepreneur Association. So we work with the young business people. Young business people here we refer to those who are under 45 years old, who are more energetic, innovative, and looking for opportunity to expand. And so it reflects our association objective as well. So we are playing two major important objectives where we support our members. So we are a membership association. We support members in terms of partnering, networking, capacity building, and we are also part of the ASEAN Young Entrepreneur Council as well. So we expand the opportunity for our members to the ASEAN region and also to the rest of the world through our partnership. So it's more on access to market and access to information as well. The second platform, we are connecting between the private sectors and the public as well. So we are play an active role with the government in terms of bridging the gap of bringing the voice of the private sector to the government. So we part of the many working group between the private and the public working group. So basically, there is two major platforms that we support the young entrepreneurs in Cambodia and also micro, small, and medium enterprise. At the same time, we also do a few other projects, including with UNDP as well. That is co-funded by UNDP on Junior Entrepreneur Program, where we provide certain trainings and also the theory of a program for the junior students and a junior entrepreneur, and they are mostly the student of postgraduate in terms of leadership and also young entrepreneur. So we bridge, we try to connect them between the university life and their career into the young entrepreneur, and also engage them with our young entrepreneur communities. So this is some of the activity we are doing. Also, we are partnering with the Global Entrepreneur Network in conducting the annual event called Global Entrepreneurship Week, where it's a platform to do the awareness raising on the entrepreneurship and also discussing a certain issue around the entrepreneurship. Like current focus is more on digitalization for the entrepreneur. All right, so I will pause for now, and we can go further for the discussion later for young entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time to explain the importance of your organization for young entrepreneurs. And I really hope that we have some inspired students that will contact you again on the platform and your colleagues so that they can ask the right questions and have a one-on-one meeting. Then I would like to also invite the Cambodian Women Entrepreneurs Association to talk a little bit more about why young women should join you and what you can offer them. So I want to invite Ms. Sun to share.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to say good afternoon to our respected speaker, moderator, and audience in EuroCham. My name is Sun Sihanandawi, and I'm here today to represent Cambodian Women Entrepreneurs Association, in which short we call CWEA. In this board mandate, I'm a board member and the chairwoman in PR and Media Committee. And I'm also a vice president of Cambodian Digital Tech Association and also a board member of JCI Tuker. In professional life, I own 3 types of business. 2 of them are in software and digital branding company, and another one is in cosmetic trading company. It is a great pleasure to meet everyone here today. And I would go to next slide, please. So CWEA was founded in 2011 with the support from World Bank and Ministry of Women Affairs. We are representing the voice of more than 700 women entrepreneurs, and our network worth is more than 15 to 20,000 workforce in total that are working with our members. We vision that successful business women entrepreneur will make a very good economic impact to Cambodian economy. So please go through the next slide. So our main objective, we have 3 main objectives. The first one is to provide a representative platform for women in business to bring the issue to government and the business community and the public for the purpose for the improving of business environment. And the second one is to facilitate the growth of business activity in which women are involved. The third one should be to provide networking opportunities for our members to share with our stakeholders as well. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes. So in order to meet our mission, we have advocacy committee. They play a very, very important role in the association, which we have always conduct a road forum where our team is going to different provinces and conduct roundtable discussion with our provincial chapters that we raise the issue and we raise to the government. And we have 4 main committees. We have PR, we have, it should be on the next slide, please. Yes, our 4 main committee is advocacy, business development committee, and our organizational development committee, and also the PR and media committee. So that should be a brief overview of the association. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then the last one I will invite on stage is Mr. Sabrang to represent AIESEC. It's a bit my favorite because I was part of AIESEC when studying in Belgium, so I'm very excited to hear more about AIESEC here in Cambodia. You have the words, Mr. Sabrang.
Yep, thank you. So, good afternoon to all organizers, facilitator, and speaker, as well as all the participants. So I am Hokson. Currently, I am a National Director of Business and Development of AIESEC in Cambodia. Okay. So for the objective today, I would like to introduce you to what is AIESEC and what we're doing, and as well as some of our program also. So for AIESEC internationally, we was found in 1948, straight after the World War II. And the reason is that we been born is because that back then we believed that the war that happened, because that different country we don't have the context, we don't know, we don't understand about each other. That's why we aim to promote the cross-cultural understanding. So that's why we create AIESEC in more than 100 countries. And in Cambodia, the AIESEC was found in 2008, and for now we have 4 local committees, which is cover more than 30 universities. And for this year, 2021, even though it's a COVID pandemic, but still we have more than 100 active members in our organization to run and making more new initiatives to make our organization more relevant to the external and as well as the youth in Cambodia also. Okay, I think you can move to the next slide. So here is our international program. So back then we focus on global volunteer, which is we promote and we provide the opportunity for youth to volunteer abroad for them to have a bigger perspective about the world, and as well as going through the challenging environment so that they could have a practical experience for themselves and develop themselves also. But time to time, the world is changing as well as our organization also. So for now, we focus on 2 international products, which is Global Teacher and Global Talent. So for Global Teacher, it's a very simple products, which is we give a privilege to all of the people around the world. And for Cambodia especially, we give the opportunity to the youth that they want to explore themselves, they want to foster their career opportunity in abroad, they want to help engage with the kids in the society, in the community, so they can apply for the program to, and for why it will be explained in the next slide. So for Global Talent also, it's a little bit different from Global Teacher because we focus more on the company, not just a learning institution. So for this, how we benefit from this is that both the company abroad as well as in Cambodia, we could access to the a lot of potential human resource, both in locally and internationally. Yep. Oh, yeah. I think we skip one slide. Yes. So for international program for youth, it's a global opportunity, which means that youth in Cambodia, we would have opportunity to go everywhere we want, as long as the AIESEC exists over there. And it's almost everywhere because the AIESEC is it's located in more than 100 countries already. And by catching the global opportunity, you will be able to develop yourself and boost your career career future also, because like you have a future, you have an international perspective toward the work, you engage with international people, you learn different culture, you learn different background, you have meet people in different background and living condition. So for international program for organization, it's more about talent acquisition in locally and internationally. For example, if a company that in locally we don't have that human resource does not exist yet, so they could access to the program and then recruit and put their needs and then recruit the international candidate that meet with their needs. Thereby, they could stay competitive and for the improve their company, and as well as promote the diversity in the company and learning environment also. Okay, I think we can move to the next slide. For this one also, this one is our new product, which is about to launch in several months more, which is we call local volunteer program. Because back then we focus on global volunteer, but as everyone knows, that now it's a global pandemic. So we cannot go anywhere. The border is closed. Everywhere is in a precaution. So we develop this program, this initiative made special for youth in Cambodia, so that they could access and then improve themselves through a practical experience in a virtual learning environment, both for improve themselves and as well as the kids in the province and rural area as well. Yep. So I think that's all. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And for the last message is that we also open for recruitment twice a year in the start of December and as well as in June also. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, the three of you. So if I understand, as a student, if you want to meet new cultures, if you want to grow and have self-development, you can join AIESEC. So you can contact AIESEC. They will be also on the platform and learn more about their program. And then for those aspiring entrepreneurs, if you want to find an organization that can help you to upskill and also to grow your business, we have two main organizations that not only reach out here in Phnom Penh, but reaches out to the provinces. We have the Cambodian Women Entrepreneurs Association and also the Young Entrepreneurs Association of Cambodia. We won't have the time to have a Q&A live right now, but like any other speaker that we have had for the past 2 days, you will have the opportunity to learn more about them and directly talk with them through direct messages and also video conferences with the different representatives. And since I'm talking about this, I just want to show it to you. So I'm going to share my screen on my phone, if possible. Yes, I think you can see my screen now. So you have actually a B2Match app. So this is my account. On this app, you can reach out to the participants. You can see that there are on top 170 participants. If you are looking for specific participants, you can here see participants with which you can have a one-on-one meeting. So we have 118 participants where you can have direct one-on-one meeting, and you can also bookmark participants. I didn't bookmark anyone yet, but it's possible to do that. I will show how you can do that. And if you really want to know, okay, I want to actually talk with one of the speakers that was interesting. I'm sorry, I cannot, oh, sorry, because I put bookmarked, yes. So if you want to talk to one of the guest speakers, you can just click guest speakers, and it will show the guest speakers that we had throughout the conference. And then you can just, let's say I want to talk to, I will try to find a guest speaker of today, His Excellency Vira. Then you can bookmark him here, or you can text him. You can send him directly a message, any message. And he will be able to reply, and you will be able to exchange. I will show another. This is the participants of yesterday, the same. So you will find all the different speakers. Not only speakers, you can also talk to students, development partners, companies, because we have, as you can see here, 14 companies that are currently recruiting. So for those that are looking for a job, you can contact them. So let's see here. You can contact them and just, you know, request a little bit more about the job opportunities that they offer. Next to that, well, you have the agenda, but well, this is actually the end of the conference, so you won't need the agenda anymore. It is possible to create meetings. So here you can see an example. I contacted Khatanak and I requested for a meeting. And once you send a meeting request, that person can accept, can cancel maybe because that person is not available. But you will have this in your app and also through notifications in your email. And then here you have messages. This is when you receive new messages and when you want to continue your conversation with the different speakers. So this app is downloadable. I will ask one of my colleagues to share the link so that you can all download it now if you didn't do so before. So let me go back on sharing my screen. Then I also want to talk a little bit about the CSR Contest and Awards. We are organizing this event because we started a contest and awards in March. We had for this year a category for companies and social responsibility, but we also opened it up for students, for young students from high school and from university. We have about 12 candidates who are currently working on, who have to submit their contest entry form. The deadline is soon, so if we have some candidates here following us, don't hesitate to reach out, of course. But we are very excited to talk with the youth, because I think every speaker said today that it's important to talk about sustainable goals, to talk about sustainable development. It's not something that is only to be discussed on, higher level with institutions, politics, or adults or experts. It's also something that is very relevant for the youth. And what's amazing is that the youth can do something about it. So that is why we invited young candidates to participate also in the contest. And I will show here, I will share my screen. I don't know if you can already see my screen. I will go to the CSR. So if you want to have more information about our contest, we have a website which will be shared in the chat right now, and you can have more information about the youth category. For those who were not able to participate this year, we hope that we will have more participants to our next edition. You can see here the eligibility criteria, and of course, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me on the app if you have more questions regarding this. We talked also a lot about green jobs. So I wanted to also show the GreenCap webpage and website, because they have this career center. So for those that are interested in finding an internship or starting to work in the green job market, the Green Job website does have different opportunities. I'm so sorry, my internet is pretty slow, so I think I will not wait until it loads, but I promise you that on this page you will find different opportunities. Well, we're lucky. We have here some posts, so you can see different, well, here you can see the events, I think. Yes, anyways, go through the entire website. You can find different opportunities. They also have workshops, green skills. So I will maybe go to green skills. It's really an amazing platform for Cambodians, where they can learn a lot about, green business and how they can develop their green skills. As you can see, they have international programs, and they also have courses and workshops. So it's not only about learning, but it's also about growing in the green job markets. And then here, I guess everyone is familiar with this page. I just wanted to show the possibilities that you have on this page. So I'm just going to log in. So everyone should have a login here. If you don't have a login, there is a possibility. Well, no, it's closed right now, but you can always contact us and we can create a new login for you. So I just wanted to show, I'm not going to go through the entire platform, but you can see here again the participants, and you can also again filter them by your area in interest. If you are interested about advertisement, you can see the different participants that showed that as their area of expertise. And then you also have the marketplace. The marketplace is full of opportunities, job opportunities, and it's also full of information. So expertise are different, different multimedia sources that are shared by all the different participants. So you can see that you can have some of participants and also speakers that really share about their expertise. You can find videos, you can find PowerPoint presentations. So really go through them, and don't hesitate. Also, you can see here available. That means that the person is available to have a one-on-one meeting. And then on top of that, you also have job positions for those that are looking for a job. Here you can find the different job positions. So if I go, for instance, here, you can see here the job position. You can have some more. Here you have an internship, actually. So sustainability internship, perfect green job opportunity. And you can send directly a message to the recruiter. Even if you are not currently looking for a job, I would highly recommend you to go through that page. You never know if you can find your future job, and it's an opportunity to talk already with the recruiter and ask questions related to what kind of skills, what kind of soft skills you can develop in order to later on, when you will finish your studies or when you will be available to apply successfully for such jobs. So I think I also have to talk about some of our partners. It's definitely important to understand also who is behind this amazing conference. So first of all, we have of course yes, we have, of course, GreenCap, who is the co-organizer of this event. We also have an exclusive media partner, who is Khmer Times, and who is also our exclusive media partner for the contest and awards. And then we also had the pleasure to have speakers from UNIDO and UNDP, who also partnered with us. So a little bit more about EuroCham. So I know that most of you don't already have a company, but EuroCham is a business association. We have more than 200 members, more than 200 businesses, which are small, medium to global enterprises. Among those members, you saw on the previous slides, we have our partners. And you can see you have partners in different sectors. So these are actually the brands and the companies that make it possible for us to organize such great events. So the next slide is about becoming members. So if you don't have a business, that will not be possible. But I do encourage you to go on our website, because you will be able to find all the different companies that are part of EuroCham in our directory, and you will be able to see their description, and we also have the contact information. So if you are interested in one of the companies, you can also reach out to them and request, a meeting, or who knows. I think one of the speakers yesterday said that, if there's not an opportunity, you can always contact the company and always reach out and ask for some expertise and, or some mentorship. So definitely check out our website to see a little bit who are part of our big family. I think the next slide are our new members. So every year we have new members coming in. So here are some of the type of members. We have entrepreneurs, we have members in the tech, we have members in agriculture, we have FAR, so in entertainment as well. So as you can see, we have members a little bit from everywhere. We have Food Panda, we have Khmer Organic, so we have local members. It's not only about European members, we also have local members and international members that are part of EuroCham. So that is about EuroCham. I think we can close the meeting, but before we leave, I just wanted to share a little African quote, which is from the Fula people, the Fulani people, which is a large West African tribe. And that quote, if you translate it, says, may your actions have the same effects as a baobab seeds. So for those that don't know, a baobab is a tree that mostly grow in Africa, and they are called actually the trees of life. They are very, very large, and they are really central and key for most African tribes. They are massive, and those trees have more than 300 uses. That means that you can, that those trees are beneficial for different reasons. For instance, the leaves, you can boil them and you can eat them like spinach, and they are really rich in iron. The seeds of that tree are made to make like sort of substitute to coffee. You can also press them to make oil for cooking, cosmetics. The fruit has 6 times more vitamin C than oranges. Even the roots are used to make little baskets, and it's also a source of shadow. So you can see the tree here, a source of shadow in a place that is very hot and when there is no shelter. So, and the most fascinating about those trees is that they can live up to 1,000 years. So those trees have been here for a long time, and they all originated from this little seed that grew in those really long and really big trees that last for generations and help entire communities. So like those tiny seeds, I would like to encourage you to take little actions that that will help to, first of all, grow yourself, but can also have lasting benefits for generations to come. So I think that those little seeds have been planted already here through this conversation, because dialogue is really something very powerful. So I would say continue this conversation, talk about sustainable development beyond this conference, and reach out to the experts. Experts also reach out to students, continue to mentor them. And we thank you very much for being part of this. Thank you for the speakers, thank you for the co-organizers, and definitely thank you for the students to be part of this. And thank you for what you will all do, all those great things you will achieve in the future. So that's it for me, and I wish you a great afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.